श्याम राधे राधे
राधे कृष्णा 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 राधे 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 श्याम 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 राधे राधे
राधे कृष्ण 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 राधे 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 श्याम 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 राधे राधे
राधे कृष्णा 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 राधे 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 श्याम 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 राधे
राधे कृष्णा 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 राधे 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 श्यामा 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 राधे 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 कृष्णा 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 राधे 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 श्याम श्यामा श्यामा राधे राधे
राधे कृष्णा 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 राधे 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 श्याम श्यामा श्यामा राधे राधे
राधे कृष्णा 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 राधे 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 श्याम श्यामा श्यामा राधे राधे
राधे कृष्णा 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 राधे 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 श्याम श्यामा श्यामा राधे राधे
राधे कृष्ण कृष्ण राधे 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 श्याम श्याम राधे राधे
राधे कृष्णा कृष्णा राधे 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 श्याम श्याम राधे राधे
राधे कृष्ण कृष्ण राधे 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 श्याम श्याम राधे राधे
राधे कृष्णा कृष्णा राधे 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 श्याम श्याम राधे
राधे कृष्णा कृष्णा राधे 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 श्यामा श्यामा राधे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा राधे 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 श्यामा श्यामा राधे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा राधे 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 श्यामा श्यामा राधे 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 श्यामा श्यामा राधे 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 श्यामा श्यामा राधे राधे सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
Welcome to Satsang. Can you define the ego? I feel like it is used in many different contexts. Please explain what the ego actually is and how to overcome it. The ego is that self which is created by us in ignorance, but very well intentioned. It's important to realize there's nothing bad or wrong or evil. It's all very well intentioned. It's just created out of ignorance. And it starts to be created in our childhoods. Every time someone says to us, "Oh, you're the smart one. Oh, you're the athletic one. Oh, you're the pretty one. Oh, you're a good girl. You're a bad boy." Every one of these, or all of the variations of the theme, are all bricks in the construction of an ego. An ego is this way that we think of the self that isn't actually the self. Now, as we grow in childhood, the ego forms this sense of who I am. And so throughout our childhoods and then our adolescence, we go through a lot of this sort of identity. Am I an athlete, or am I, one of the smart kids, or, what type of person am I? As we grow and you start to learn, oh, this is my thing, this isn't my thing. I'm like this, I'm not like that. This is all the beginnings of the construction of an ego. The dilemma comes is every one of those bricks is bricks in a wall. And it's a wall between us and truth. It's a wall between us and this expanded nature of the self, which ultimately is our true nature. If you rewind for a moment, who we really are, instead of starting with ego, we start with the truth. Who we really are is divinity. We're soul. Long before we have an ego, long before someone says to us, "Oh, you're a good boy or a bad girl or an athlete or a smart boy," long before we hear any of that, we're soul. We're spirit. We're consciousness. That's who we are. That's long before there's a body, long before there's relationships. Oh, that's my mom, that's my dad. Long before any of those expectations, we're soul. We then come into this world in a body to work through a karmic package. We won't go into all of these details, but it's important to have a bit of the chronology of how it all begins. So you've got soul, absolute, unbounded, infinite soul. That's who we are. We then come in the form of this body to have certain experiences, to clear certain karmic bank accounts. It's not only karmic debts. We talk about karmic debts, but they're not only debts. Sometimes the bank account is in the plus, but you've still got to clear it. So whatever's there in the bank, we've got to clear it, whether it's in the minus or in the plus. And in this body, we have experiences. And those experiences leave impressions upon us. And part of this body is our physical brain. And in the physical brain, all of these experiences get stored. So every time someone says to us, God, you are so beautiful. Or, maybe you should exercise more. Or, oh, God, it's too bad that you're not as smart as your brother. Or, why can't you be more like your sister? Every time we hear any of those types of things, it gets stored in our brain. And it forms a piece, a brick of who we think we are. And that forms the ego. And then, of course, as I move through the world, I move through it as ego. So if in my childhood, the bricks of my ego were bricks that always told me I wasn't quite as good as my older sister or my older brother or the girl next door or my cousin or my parents were when they were my age because they walked, 50 miles in the snow to go to school and I'm such a spoiled brat and, whatever it may have been in my childhood, that becomes the structure of my ego. And I then move through the world like that. I'm the one who's not quite good enough. Not as good as my sibling or the neighbor or the cousin or as I should be. And so whether it's in school, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in my relationships, I continue to create these patterns because this is what I believe about myself. When we talk about co-creating your world, co-creating your reality, our choice is to do it from a place of ego or from a place of truth. A lot of us oversimplify the ego. We think the ego is just arrogance. If you say, oh, someone's got a really big ego, it means basically, oh, they're really arrogant. But the ego isn't just arrogance. The ego is that whole false structure, that whole wall that I've created brick by brick. Again, very well-intentioned. It began in my childhood. I was just trying to understand things. I was just trying to figure out in the beginning who I am, separate from this breast out of which comes milk. That's where it begins. Who am I that is separate from this beautiful, infinite milk-giving machine? And then I realized I'm separate from it. Then who am I that's separate? And who am I separate from parents? Who am I? And so the ego is the answer to that. And it's important to know that it's really well-intentioned. It's doing its best for you. It's trying to understand. It's trying to put all of the cues it's getting from the world in place. Oh, I get it. Okay. So I'm not the smart one, but I'm the pretty one. Or I'm not the pretty one, but I'm the star athlete. So they're going to choose me for the soccer team, not because I'm beautiful or they like me, but because they know I'm going to win. Okay, so that's a brick in my ego. A way of understanding who I am. But you see, it's all false. Whatever it is. Every example I've given, every one of them is false. Well-intentioned falsehood. Truth, soul, spirit. And so when we speak about freeing ourselves of the ego, it's about realizing this wall I have created is imprisoning me. Not because I'm bad, not because I'm dark, not because I'm wrong, but because I created it in good faith. I needed it in certain phases of life to kind of understand who I am. But now it's not serving me. Now it's actually separating me from truth. And the truth is unbounded. The ego is bounded. And so we're always trying to return back to the truth of our source. You know, every night on the banks of Ganga when we have our beautiful yagna ceremony, when I explain yagna and speak about it, one of the things that I always say is, you know, these flames of the fire, they always go higher and higher because the source of fire is the sun. And so fire is always trying to return to its source. Source of water is the ocean. That's why water comes down, fire goes up. It's trying to return to its source. All water on earth is moving down, moving back toward the earth, toward the ocean, because that's its source. Our source is boundlessness. Our source is infinity. And so if you look at so much of what we do in the world, it's actually our well-intentioned but unskillful ways of returning to that truth of unboundedness. So we eat too much. We shop too much. We engage in promiscuous sex. We acquire title after title. We take drugs or alcohol to give us an experience of being not bounded in this moment. We do lots of different things that give us this false experience of not being bounded by the self. So whether it's by eating so much that I feel expanded, shopping so much that I feel expanded, look, all these things are now part of me. It was in the shop window. I wasn't satisfied with looking at it. I needed to bring it home and own it, so it's part of me. Now I'm expanded in some way. Or we take drugs or alcohol to give us that out-of-body experience. We have meaningless sex to give us at least that experience for a moment of being more than just me. Now suddenly it's we, that momentary experience of being expanded. We do so much, well-intentioned, but unskillful, because none of those things actually gives us a real experience of the self. They're all just actually ways of getting farther from your truth. They're actually all things that just suffocate us more. They're things that stick us more into the body than actually give us that experience of expansion. But our intention is good. We just haven't gone about it the right way. And the only real way to go about it is dismantling that ego brick by brick by brick. And the only way to do that is to have the courage to realize that's not me. Not me, not me. It's like that beautiful neti practice of meditation. I'm not my shawl. Okay, we all believe that. I'm not my sari, okay? I'm not my skin. I'm not the blood. I'm not my muscles. And we go through piece by piece by piece of us. I'm not this, not that, not this. Ultimately, not my thoughts. Well, we know that because thoughts keep changing, but I don't keep changing. And in those rare but precious moments of thoughtlessness, I don't disappear. I'm not my emotions, because they keep changing. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm frustrated, I'm despairing, I'm joyous, grieving, but I'm still here. So I'm not the emotions. We go through it piece by piece, not this, not that, dismantling that ego brick by brick. Until finally we are in a place of realizing there's nothing left to dismantle. And that's what gives us that true experience of spaciousness, that true experience of our source of infinity. Not by acquiring more or stuffing myself with more or sticking my physical body against another physical body or ingesting chemicals to just change how my brain is for a few minutes or hours, but actually an experience of truth. And so we dismantle it with love. And that's important, because remember, the ego was actually created to be your ally. It was created to help you. All of these bricks that you put there as you were growing to understand the world, to understand your relationship with the world, to make sense of that which was happening. Or you put them there because you believed the people who told you things. So the ego is not your enemy. But it's just something that now is blocking you. It's like a wall in the house that, now the family's expanded. Maybe the family used to be small, the wall was good. Maybe it protected you from the dogs outside or the people wandering outside. But now the family's expanded. Now we've got other family members in other rooms, and now we need to break down the walls so we can all be together. Now we need more space. So it's not about hating the ego or feeling badly about it. But it's about just dismantling it. Letting it dismantle itself. Because the other piece is, ironically, the more attention you give to it, the stronger it gets. So the greatest dismantler of the ego is to give yourself the real experience of expansion. All of that which gives you that real experience, prayer, meditation, ecstatic chanting, seva, service, through love. These are the ways in to that true experience of expansion. And then we just let those bricks of the ego slowly, slowly, slowly get dismantled. But it's not violent. It's not about taking a baseball bat to the ego and destroying that wall in one fell swoop in a violent way. No. It's just about gently, brick by brick, it gets dismantled. As who you really are becomes so expansive that it almost just pushes down the wall anyway. It no longer can be contained by that wall. And beautifully, awareness is a wonderful key, because the moment that something happens in my life that I realize is part of the ego, just simply naming it. You don't have to analyze it, go into it, work with it. Just, you look at it, you see it. I see you. That's a brick of my ego, I see you. And then we go back to the experience of expansion. And that I see you weakens that brick and gets it to fall. And so that's how we work with it. With love, awareness, and a continual commitment back to the truth of who we are, back to source. And that's why, by the way, interestingly, all of the words that we use to describe being in love, for example, or ecstasy, joy, they're all words of expansion. We talk about melting and merging and swimming and bathing, and we talk about fireworks and volcanoes, and right? All of these words are words of expansion. They're all words of this confined self actually experiencing the truth of what it is. Whether I'm melting into it, merging into it, swimming in it, bathing in it, whether a volcano expands me or fireworks expand, whatever it may be, they're all terms of expansion. Because that joy, that real joy, comes when we're back experiencing source. Just like fire back to the sun, water back to the earth. So the minute we realize all of the unskillful ways of expanding, we stop doing them. Because you realize, oh yeah, that doesn't work. Been there, done that, doesn't work. Good intention, but unskillful. And I come back to what does work. Are there any questions that anyone here has? Yes.
What is the meaning of Guru? I mean spiritual master.
So you're looking for the meaning for you in your life, or you're looking for a dictionary definition?
For everyone. For all.
Well, so here's the thing for satsang. That which we can discover in a dictionary or on Google or in all of those other wonderful tools that we have are places that I try to stay away from in satsang. Only because we already have those tools, we're all able to pull out a dictionary and look up words. What satsang is important for is opening us to the truth within us. So it's not about what does Mr. Webster's say, but it's about what does that mean for me? Where is this lack of knowledge blocking me in some way from experiencing my truth? And so when you ask about spiritual master, the question for me is not what's the definition of one. I'm sure every dictionary we open would give us a slight variation on the theme, but nonetheless, I'm sure that we could all pretty much come to an agreement if we spent time throwing a lot of definitions out there. But to me, what matters is, what is it that's keeping every single one of us from being a spiritual master? Because none of the definitions has to do with how many of the scriptures you've memorized, how much you can recite or chant. A master is one who's actually experienced, who knows. The difference between, for example, a guru and a teacher, not just semantically, but the real difference is a teacher tells you things. And that's great. It's wonderful. We need them. But a guru gives you the experience. So here's a way to think about it. If you took a class in oceanography from a wonderful oceanography teacher, you would learn everything there is to know about life under the ocean. But your clothes would still be dry. If you took an oceanography class with a guru, you would also learn about life under the ocean. But at the end of the class, you would be dripping wet. Because the guru gives the actual knowing, the actual experience. And so when we talk about a spiritual master, it's someone who knows. So it's not about I've read someone else's words, have memorized them, and I'm very adept at spouting them back. Different scriptures, different books, different languages. It's not about that. Mastery is how it has impacted me. Do I live it? And so the interesting question about spiritual mastery for me is, what keeps us from living that? I know what keeps us from reading all of the spiritual books and memorizing them. Well, there's not necessarily enough hours in the day. People have different responsibilities, different priorities. Okay. Different duties, different dharmas. But what is it that keeps us all from actually knowing, from living it? Just ignorance. But an attachment to the ignorance. Because every moment we have the opportunity to see the truth, because that spiritual mastery is within us. It's not something you need a book for. It's within you. Spiritual mastery is mastery of the self, the capital S self. And sure, books can point us there. Teachings can point us there. But the mastery is within. So what is it that keeps us when every moment we have the opportunity for the mastery? Why not? And that's our attachment to the ignorance. And so that's the question to take home. Why am I so attached to the ignorance? What is it about my story that is so compelling that I don't want to let it go? What is it about my attachment to this history, to this identity, to this role, to my drama, to my pain, to my suffering, that I don't want to let it go? What's that fear? That if I let it go, then what? And when we find the answer to that. Because yes, for all of us, it's ignorance. But it takes a different flavor in each of us. Just like all of us are made up of the same elements, we're all carbon and nitrogen and hydrogen and oxygen. I mean, we're all made up of exactly the same stuff. The vast majority of our DNA is exactly the same. But those slight variations are what make us look physically different, what give us different abilities, different skills. That slight variation in the same ingredients is what gives us this beautiful variety. So in the same way, in our attachment and our ignorance, yeah, it's all made up of the same stuff. It's ignorance, it's fear, it's ego. But it takes a slightly different flavor in each of us. And so we each have to be able to look within and say, what is it in me that is keeping me, holding me back? What am I so attached to in my way of thinking, in my ignorance? What am I afraid I'm going to lose? Because until we know that, we don't realize how small it is. And then we don't have the courage to step into our own mastery. And then we live our lives stuck in these roles, stuck in these dramas, stuck in the ego. And that mastery is available to every one of us. It just requires an absolute, piercing, vigorous, ruthless, you could say, commitment to truth in every moment. In every moment to be able to say, not this, not this, not self. That is not self. Yeah, we still go through the motions, we still buy groceries, we still go to work, we still fill the car with gas, we cook food, we chop wood, we do whatever we do, we change diapers. But those aren't the things that keep us stuck. What keeps us stuck is the workings of the mind. Why do I always have to change the diapers? Why do I always have to fill the car with gas? That's not fair. Why can't I get the full serve? Why isn't this guy? Why? That's what keeps us stuck, not the pumping of the gas itself, not the chopping of the wood itself. So with every moment, make a commitment to mastery of the self. What's the truth in this moment? What is my highest truth in this moment? Soul, spirit, consciousness, expansion, love. And the more you can keep coming back to that, then we all become the master. And that's what it's about. It's not about defining who amongst us is a master. It's about becoming a master of the self. And that's our task, our global Dharma. Whatever culture, whatever country, whatever religion, whatever role, whatever family, wherever you've been born, the one thing you can say for sure is that your highest Dharma is that mastery. And yeah, you've got other duties along the way. We all play different roles. We have different duties. We're children of our parents. We're parents of our children. Some of us are spouses. Some of us are parents, some of us have different roles, different, whatever it may be. And we play those. We play them well. We play them sincerely. But we always remember our highest Dharma is the mastery of the self. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Ego comes with I, me, or mine. You have to be very patient to let it go. What are your views on it? How to be very patient? It's like, for me, I'm not that much patient guy, and sometimes it happens like kaboom. So how to be like patient?
How do we develop patience with the self? Through compassion. Impatience means there is something wrong with the present moment. Right? Probably not what Mr. Webster's would give as the definition, but the best working definition that I can come up with of impatience is there's something wrong with the present moment. Whatever I want, it hasn't happened. It's not happening, not fast enough. Whether I want it from you, or I want it from myself, or I want it from those clouds to go away so it can be a sunny day for my picnic, or I want it to become light because it's Christmas morning and I want to go open my presents. Whatever it may be. Impatience means right here, right now is not good enough. I need what's coming next, and I need it faster, better, sooner. Right here, right now is not enough. And so when you're talking about impatience toward the self, the way to have that is compassion. That right here, right now, you're exactly right. You're exactly perfect. And the reason we know that is that that's how you are right now. And we know that the divine is perfect, that this is exactly how you've been created, that God didn't get, a phone call in the middle of creating you and forgot where he was and left the job undone because, an email came or something, right? None of us is half done, left incomplete, undeveloped. We're all exactly as we're supposed to be. And we all have this extraordinary opportunity to peel back the beauty and the perfection even of who I am in this moment, to peel all of that back and to actually experience a much fuller perfection of the real truth of who I am. But to be able to have compassion, to be able to say, yeah, I have this issue, or I have that issue, or I'm learning this, or I'm learning that. And that's okay. You have compassion for it. It's so interesting. If you walked through a orange orchard full of beautiful orange trees, and then after the orange orchard, you walk through an apple orchard full of apple trees, and then you walk through, a banana plantation, and then a pineapple plantation. We're able to appreciate the beauty and the difference of each of them. Oranges, apples. And we may prefer certain fruits to other fruits. But you would never bite into a banana and say, this isn't really juicy enough. Because we understand bananas aren't juicy. Oranges are juicy. Pineapples are juicy. Bananas are great for other things, but they're not juicy. It's not one of their characteristics. And that's okay. And we don't experience this level of dissatisfaction with the banana for its lack of juiciness. And we don't experience a sense of dissatisfaction with the beautiful willow tree because it doesn't give us fruit, or the oak tree because it doesn't give us fruit. We understand, the fruit trees give us fruit, and the willow tree is so beautiful, and the oak tree gives us so much water. But with ourselves, we're living in this constant state of, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. Like everyone we see, everything we see, we feel like I should also be that, and I should be that, and I should do this. And then of course we're impatient. Right? Imagine I'm a banana. And I'm bereft because I'm not juicy. The world wants juiciness, and I'm a banana. And I'm trying to become juicy, but it's not working. Well, so not only am I impatient, but I'm miserable. And now, not only am I not going to be able to become an orange or a pineapple, but the extraordinary nature of my banana-ness is actually going to start to dissipate. I'm going to start to lose that. My bananas are no longer going to be so sweet or so soft. Because as my mind gets clouded and I'm suffering and I'm contracting and I'm full of judgment and negativity and all of those things, lack of acceptance, then not only do I not become the juicy orange, but I also lose the gifts that I have as this beautiful, potassium-filled, vitamin, mineral-filled, soft, wonderful, sweet banana. I lose that. And so if you find that you're impatient with the self, try to sit in compassion. Sit in compassion for who you are right here, right now. Doesn't mean we don't hold out goals and visions. Of course we do. Maybe goals and visions of more that I can achieve for the world. A better tool, a better vehicle, a better vessel, a better instrument of God's will on earth. Absolutely, why not? We should be. We should all be even clearer, even stronger, even more tireless instruments in the hands of God. Absolutely. We should be even more selfless. And who we are right here, right now is perfect. And spiritual mastery is being able to actually hold the space for both simultaneously. Because it's not complacency. A lot of people get mistaken. Oh, I've become very spiritual. I realize I'm perfect. It means I don't have to work on myself anymore. And if I throw a temper tantrum, so be it, that was perfect. And if I punch you in the nose and give you a bloody nose, so be it, that was perfect. And because I'm perfect, right? And the present moment is perfect, and whatever I do is perfect. And that's the out of context ignorance that you see when we embark on a spiritual path and sort of pull some words and pull some concepts out of context, and then you get more ignorance. So it's actually about both truths simultaneously. Yes, in this moment, I am perfect. Because the nature of the moment is perfection. And look at all of this exciting, beautiful work that I get to do, to peel back the layers so that I don't throw temper tantrums, so that I don't give you bloody noses, so that I don't spend my day under the covers in bed just because, I don't feel like getting up. So that I don't lie and cheat and steal and do things that are against my path. So that I don't fall into the trap of ego. Look at all this wonderful opportunity that I have to pull back these layers and to expand in truth. And right here, right now is perfect. And look, here's another layer I get to pull back. And being able to hold the space with both simultaneously, that's where we're going. So when you find yourself impatient, on the one hand, it's actually a good trait, because what it means is you're able to see a you that is clearer, that is more expanded, that is more in light than you are currently acting. And that's actually great. The impatience in that moment means I'm able to see a reality that I'm not yet able to live, but that I know is true. I know that I can be better than I'm acting in this moment. And that's great. And this present moment is perfect. And so you just have to bring in that component. Hold the vision of where you're going. Absolutely. Don't become complacent. Don't become lazy. Hold that vision of what you know is your higher capacity, your higher truth, your higher self. And in this present moment, all is perfect. So you take a breath. And as you exhale, you smile. And then you inhale and you move forward. Because remember, it's not about complacency. It's not about, oh yeah, I'll just sit here and give up. But it's that ability with an exhalation to smile into the perfection of the moment. And then with an inhalation to fill myself with that energy to take another step forward toward that vision of where I know I'm going. And then I exhale. And I realize everything's perfect in this moment. And I inhale. And I move forward. And to hold them both in your awareness, in your consciousness, in your life. So yeah, you're moving and you're expanding, and you're growing, you're rising. And every moment along the way is perfect.
Fantastic.
Beautiful. Yes.
My question is, why the ignorance is so persistent? I mean, why it keeps on coming back? I would like to expand a little bit. We all are that infinite, ultimate infinite blissfulness. Logically, I agree with it. Logically, practically, by every means of it, I can feel it, I can experience it for a fraction of a second. That there is no denial in it. But
when we were kids, and if we learn something, it sticks with us for a
Yes.
lifetime.
Doesn't have to.
But
Yeah.
the knowledge we get, it doesn't stick with us. The ignorance keeps on coming back and back and back again.
What is your name?
Sanket?
Saket, so can we start with this tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful question.
Yeah, no problem.
I wanted to let you at least share it this evening, but we'll begin with that tomorrow. Okay? Wonderful. Have a beautiful rest of your evening, everyone, and I'll see you all tomorrow.